Hello everyone. Yeah, a little bit of redecoration. I'm gonna go back to the old stuff, how it used to be beforehand, but we had to move things around for the Christmas tree. But this table here is actually what I usually have my laptop on when I make my videos, so it's a little bit different. But anyway, massive book haul. This is, yeah, and bought 24 books, so hopefully I'll have a take of this video where I get them all in. And no, this book is not called Buy Used and Save. It's called David and Solomon in Search of the Bible's Sacred Kings and the Roots of Western Tradition by Israel Finkelstein and Neil Asher Silverman. It's basically about, I haven't read it. It's basically about King David and King Solomon, historically speaking, possibly giving the conclusion that they might have never existed. Sort of how their stories developed and such. And this is, I ordered everything either in like-new condition, very good condition, or I bought some stuff new. But this is, I'm not going to show you all the highlights and pen markings in this. But, it's not in that good condition, but, if I like the book after reading it, I'll buy a better copy of it. The same for Who Wrote the Bible by Richard Elliott Friedman. It's not in the best condition, but I'm guessing I'm really going to like it. I've just been looking at stuff and I'm like, wow, this looks like a pretty good book. So, yeah, I'm pretty informed, competently informed in the area of New Testament studies and the early history of Christianity, but I'm not too informed in the Jewish scriptures, or the Tanakh, as the Jewish people call it, but some other stuff. So definitely I'm trying to fill in that gap. Other books, those two, and The Quest for the Historical Israel, Debating Archaeology in the Early History, or in the History of Early Israel, by Israel Finkelstein and Amihai Mazar. Yeah, this is sort of, looks like it's basically about archaeological digs and such, a lot of that. And another book by Israel Finkelstein and Neil Asher Silverman, like the first one that I showed you, The Bible Unearthed, Archaeology's New Vision of Ancient Israel and the Origin of Its Sacred Texts. So this is about basically like some of the conclusions archaeologists have been coming to about sort of the development of the Tanakh. Yeah, that's a good segue. This is the Jewish Publication Society of the Tanakh, what most people unfortunately refer to as the Old Testament. This is, and it's also structured a bit differently than most Bibles have it structured, but yeah, I'm really glad I have that now. And to also fill in some of my New Testament studies gaps, Revelations, Visions, Prophecy, and Politics in the Book of Revelation. Basically, it's about the Book of Revelation and some of the stuff like historical context, and also it's written by Elaine Pagels, who is a great writer that I really like. Basically, her study is primarily on the early history of Christianity, and she's done a lot on the groups of Christians that are referred to as Gnostics, and she's talked quite a bit about the Nag Hammadi scriptures. Another book that I ordered of hers is The Origin of Satan, sort of how the development of the whole idea of Satan sort of came into being and all that. I really shouldn't say what these books are about. I haven't read them. But also more New Testament stuff. The Gospel Q, The Lost Gospel, the Book of Q and Christian Origins. It's a hypothetical document upon which a lot of scholars think parts of Matthew and Luke were based. And I mean, they've gone into a lot of detail on sort of basically the things that those two Gospels have in common that are not in Mark, they think came from another source that they've referred to as Q for quell, which means source. And this is a book kind of about it, looks like, by Burton L. Mack, a fairly famous New Testament scholar. This is The Lost Gospel Q, The Original Sayings of Jesus. Introduction by Thomas More. Marcus Borg is the consulting editor. He's a New Testament scholar of whom I've read other stuff from, really like him. And basically it's a recreation of what they think was possibly in it. Now, another scholar of whom I really like, John Dominic Crossan, Who Killed Jesus? Exposing the Roots of Anti-Semitism in the Gospel Story of the Death of Jesus. And yeah, I think that the title says it all. A couple of books by Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crossan together. The First Christmas, What the Gospels Really Teach About Jesus' Birth, and The Last Week, What the Gospels Really Teach About Jesus' Final Days in Jerusalem. Yeah, should have known that. And, yeah, basically, historical context, meaning, all that. Another book, The Misunderstood Jew, The Church and the Scandal of the Jewish Jesus, by Amy Jill Levine. Yeah. Here's a book that I have already read, Living the Questions, The Wisdom of Progressive Christianity, by David M. Felton and Jeff Proctor Murphy. It's basically a good basic book on what progressive Christianity is. Although, nothing's fully set on what it is, but it has a lot of great information, some poetry, quotes from different people on interpretation of things like prayer, this, that, stuff. Book by Rachel Held Evans, a feminist, progressive Christian blogger. Faith Unraveled, How a Girl Who Knew All the Answers Learned to Ask the Questions. Looks kind of like a memoir of, she grew up, her fundamentalist upbringing and such. Now, here's some good stuff. Misquoting Jesus, the story behind Who Changed the Bible and Why, by Bart Ehrman, an author that I've read quite a bit from, really like him. Wrote the New Testament, The Making of the Christian Myth, by Burton L. Mack. Heard some pretty good stuff about it. Author of The Lost Gospel, which I showed you. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. Forged, Writing in the Name of God, Why the Bible's Authors Are Not Who We Think They Are, by Bart Ehrman. Basically talking about forgeries, this, that, yeah. And sort of how things happened. Here's a book that I've heard of, Saving Jesus from the Church, How to Stop Worshipping Christ and Start Following Jesus. Heard a lot of great stuff about this, and I've been wanting to get this for years, but basically it wins the Archbishop Desmond Tutu seal of approval. Here's another book that I've read, Christianity After Religion, The End of Church and the Birth of a New Spiritual Awakening. I've read it. It's sort of about new reinterpreting religion and sort of changing, and sort of what about religion today, the time we live in, and sort of how people look at religion, and yeah, changing things around a lot. Now, another book that this is one I'm definitely glad to have, The Meaning of the Bible, What the Jewish Scriptures and Christian Old Testament Can Teach Us, by Douglas A. Knight and Amy Jill Levine. It's like a lot of stuff about historical context and scholarship and all that. Yeah. I know, I'm getting a lot of books that seem to be about the same thing, and I'm repeating authors also. But, a couple more from Bart Ehrman. Peter, Paul, and Mary Magdalene, The Followers of Jesus in History and Legend. It's basically about sort of the history of, yeah, I shouldn't be saying. But here's another book on lost Christian scriptures. As a Christmas gift, my dad bought me Elaine Pagels and Karen L. King's book on the Gospel of Judas. Here's Bart Ehrman's book, which I bought in this big book haul. And also, the person who sold it to me included this little essay that he or she wrote. And looking forward to having this. And the 24th and final book that I have, man, I've talked about Jesus through pagan eyes. I have quite a few vloggers of whom I'm sort of friends with over YouTube who have talked with that book about. Well, here's a book that I'm really looking forward to having, Jesus Through Jewish Eyes. It's basically a collection of different essays and things from different rabbis and scholars about Jesus and Judaism and how they connect. But yeah, got a lot of books. To be honest, I'm probably not going to be reading them until maybe sometime during the spring or summer as of the making of this video. But yeah, a lot of stuff. Thank you for watching. Shalom.